Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities and Miniatures, and I just got a big old box of plastic from RGD Gaming in the mail. If you didn't see that, it's right there too. Surprisingly, my pledge when I backed this, when they had this on Kickstarter, and it is going to be available through the usual retail channel, so do not fret if you didn't back it there. They had their Scythians and the Amazons, and then the Satyrs. I only got one box of these, and I got tons of the others, which is kind of surprising, but okay. Maybe it's the fact that there are enough to build 40 of them in the box. That's going to be a good chunk. Horseman drunk. The satyr loses its mind once it is turned to bludgeon. Spear point instead. Okay. I'm not sure about the syntax of that sentence, but the sprue looks good. Let's take a look. I haven't even opened it yet. Sometimes I like to treat myself and take a sneak peek before I actually start filming. Not these. I got them in the mail, and I am coming straight to sit down at the table and actually film them for you guys. Okay, what do we got? We got a stack of sprues. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm assuming that there are going to be 8 bodies, and the sprues are all the same. So if you did want to go the individual route, that is a possibility. And right off the bat, these guys look significantly bigger than the fawns. It's like the satyrs. No, these are the satyrs. So that's already a plus. They do have those integral bases. I know not everybody's a fan of those. But at the very least, it keeps things stable and sturdy. And, you know, if you're like me, you got a pile of sand that never seems to end to use to, you know, base them up, should be fine. Now, we got some interesting hand options here. I don't think... Yeah, it looks like everybody's got, like, a little armband where the connection point's going to be. So, should be pretty uniform throughout the whole set. Some models do have a hand already molded on, but that's okay. I'm not sure what these are, if they're knee pads or something. We've got little cloaks, ponytails, there's clubs, axes, what is it, omphalos or whatever they were called. A couple of shields, more tails, I believe. These look like drumsticks or maces. Hammers. Spears. I believe this is so he can have a two-handed weapon. Some swords as well. Now, there aren't enough shields for everybody in the box. You only get 4 to a sprue, but, you know. They're satyrs. They don't look that civilized. And it looks like we only have... There are actually 8 heads per sprue. Now, if you're like me and you're thinking, well, that's okay, what other kinds of heads do I have? I will find out. I know I have plenty of, like, the Frostgrave demon heads. I'm curious how those would work. I'm curious how these would work, the fawn heads. I'm wondering if these would fit on any of, like, my Wargames Atlantic bodies. Get myself some instant beastmen, mix and match. Throw them on the cannon fodder, have some, you know, Imperial Guard beastmen. Like the olden days. That'll be interesting. So, give me a sec. I'm going to build a few. And I might convert a few while I'm at it. And hopefully we will see the results shortly. So, sit tight. Alright. Put together a few satyrs just to get you guys satisfied, hopefully, in terms of seeing how they turned out. I'll be honest. I had a hard time figuring out good positions for those hands of theirs. I feel like some of the poses I got were kind of silly, and I wasn't super pleased with those. It's going to take some more time, I think, and finding the right spot for the head to connect to the body I thought was a bit of a challenge. It wasn't super obvious on some of them. So, you can see here he's got just 2 close combat weapons. I thought some heads and bodies were easier to align than others. I don't think that shield is actually from the kit. I want to say it was probably from another historical kit I had laying around. I've got these guys on 32mm bases. They're not going to fit on anything smaller, I think. Maybe a 30. They have no clothing, and I'm assuming they have those little turtle shell looking things. That those are supposed to be some kind of a cup or shoulder pads or something. I couldn't figure it out. Again, I don't think that's his actual shield. I had a tough time using their shields. They just didn't want to fit, and the arm positions were kind of weird. I feel like this guy should have had like a two-handed weapon. He didn't. Maybe it wasn't the best choice. I just dropped him into the camera. He's like kind of protecting himself and about to take a swing. I feel like he should have the axe, you know, lower down on the handle or something. I had a leftover bag of loot from a Shadows of Brimstone kit, and I figured, let's just give him a weird tail. Why not? He's already wearing another animal's pelt. See, there's the turtle shell thing I was talking about. I'm not sure what those are. There's no instructions, and I was too lazy to go back and check the actual Kickstarter page. I probably will. This is my preliminary group, and I mean, I gotta say, they're pretty chunky in comparison to their brethren, our fawns here. While our fawns are a bit thin and skinny, I mean, there's a lot more bulk on the satyrs, and you can see just they're a lot bigger too. Not that there was anything wrong with the size of the fawns or the centaurs for that matter, but just with these kits alone, I mean, you got yourself the makings of a really neat historical fantasy army, I think. And it's definitely worth mentioning that you get a lot of bang for your buck on these RGD Gaming kits. There's a ton of models in them. I mean, I just barely scratched the surface, like I said. I barely started playing around with it. And I already feel like, you know, there's a lot I can do with these guys. In fact, I started goofing around, and just due to the size of the chunkiness of the arms, I wanted to play around. This is one of the Space Nom arms, also from War Games Atlantic, who helped work on these sprues. And I mean, if you ever wanted to have some really, you know, low-tech Beastmen warriors, well, there you go. How do they stack up with other models, you may ask yourselves? Well, let's grab a couple, obviously, with the other RGD Greek mythological creatures here. You know what? Now RGD needs to do some Cyclopses. I mean, we've got every other... We've got some major staples of the genre here. As I get the hiccups. Where's my Witch Hunter? I got a historical War Games Atlantic guy here. So you can see the Satyrs definitely have some bulk on them. So if you wanted to have them tangle with like some of the Victrix Greeks, for example, I think that would be really fun to have. If you wanted to have them fighting with like Oathmark humans, these guys are so much shorter anyways. Or if you really want to have some scrawny little guys, you grab yourself some Frostgrave stuff. I am looking, there's a Frostgrave model. I mean, yeah. Our Frostgrave soldier here is going to be in for the fight of his life. That's for sure. Again, something this size. I mean, even on the same size base, there's still a lot of more bulk to him. And they're all kind of hunched, leaning over as well. So, I mean, it's a neat little kit. Grabbing a Victrix guy. I don't have any Greeks. I do have a Viking at least, but still, you can see, there's a good sense of scale there. So, kudos to RGD for getting the scale of these guys a little bit larger. I like it. I mean, if you're going to have, you know, fantasy skeletons of a Greek nature. I do happen to have a printed Beastman from Clay Beast Creations. It's about one of the only few Beastmen I have. One of these days I'll do a video on their stuff. They have some interesting models too. We got a Victrix Dacian, I guess. So I think it's going to be a fun kit to play around with. I haven't got a chance to dig into the Amazons or the Scythians yet, but in all due time, we will get around to it. But I got to say, for at least a fantasy kit, pretty solid. I am going to be keeping my eyes peeled for some actual GW Beastman parts, just to kind of see if they can mix and match and hopefully blend in if you wanted to use these. I mean, honestly, in a Beastman, raiding party, warband, skirmish game stuff, Warcry, I think it's not a bad idea. In terms of weaponry, you're going to be kind of limited to what they've got. But, that's never stopped anybody before. The fact that we have the connection point where that armband is, at least also can kind of lead to some easy conversions. It's just going to be a challenge finding arms of that same length and thickness, I think. If you notice, like on my guy with the gun here, it's kind of obvious, at least as of right now, there's a difference in terms of the bulk. And actually, they're both arms are War Games Atlantic. But, that's half the fun of this hobby, is experimenting and seeing what works and what doesn't. So hopefully in the future we'll see some more of these guys from me, and we'll see what we can come up with. So yeah, in the meantime, there's a link down below if you want to take a look at any of this stuff yourself. By all means, I absolutely encourage you to. There's a lot of fun kits coming out, and that is always a good thing. So with that said, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and we will see you back here soon. Bye-bye.